Snow cone mini one shot. What's the funniest thing you have seen at school? One time a substitute teacher used actual markers on a blackboard. Anyway, time for something rare. Angst with a not happy ending. Ochako held the notebook close to her. It was the only thing she had of him before he left for good. Piles of tissues that were wet from her tears were scattered all over the floor as the trash can was overflowing with them. Knock knock. Uraraka. May I come inside please? A voice asked on the other side of her bedroom door. Yes, she said in a very weak voice that sounded depressed as well as thirsty. She set the notebook down on a bedside table. The door opened up and the one coming inside the room was Iida. He came in and walked up to her. Any updates? Ochako asked looking at him. He shook his head side to side signaling a no. Ochako brought her knees to her face as she continued to sob sadly. I'm sorry Uraraka. Everyone is still taking it in Bakugo is even not acting like himself lately. He hasn't been having a lot of outbursts and he's been very quiet for the most part, Iida said taking a seat in a chair next to her bed. You seem to be doing well. Ochako looked at him with her eyes half closed. I'm the class president. I have to try to keep everyone together, no matter how I feel. Classes start in 2 days and Mr. Aizawa wants everyone to stop feeling sorry for themselves and to move on by then, Iida explained to her. How can I? He was my boyfriend and to find out he's a villain. How am I should to just move on like that? Ochako snapped at him but Iida didn't even flinch. What she said was how most of the class were feeling. Anger and confusion. I'm sorry Uraraka. I know it's not easy. Even some of the teachers are on edge. Even Mr. Aizawa is upset by this news. He just wants everyone to still become heroes. And this won't be the last time we lose people close to us, whether through treachery or death. It's not easy being a hero. It never will be but we have to try. Iida took off his glasses and wiped his tears that were now falling. He stood up and went to the door. It's getting late. I will check on you tomorrow. And Uraraka, I'm sorry, Iida gave her his sympathy. Out of everyone besides Izuku's own mother, she was the one hurt the most since she loved him. She spoke quietly. Iida took his leave and he left without another word. A few minutes later Ochako heard thunder. She looked out her window seeing dark clouds start to roll in. Within a few more minutes it had already began to pour rain hard making sounds as it hit the glass. She looked at her phone and it was already 10:55 p.m. Best to get ready for bed, Ochako thought putting his notebook away and she got ready for sleep. 3 days earlier, Ochako watched as the portal closed. The last thing she saw was Izuku's back turned to her and the rest of the crowd. Holy shit, Midoriya was the traitor. Kaminari spoke up after a few minutes of silence. Class president, get the rest of the students out of here right now. Aizawa ordered him. But sir, I said now. Aizawa yelled at him. Yes sir. Everyone get back to the classroom right now. Iida ordered the rest of the class to leave. Story continues below. Most of them needed to be told twice because they were still in shock over what just took place. Uraraka, we have to go now. Mina placed a hand on Ochako's shoulder. Her face was filled with hundreds of emotions mixed together. This can't be real. This has to be a joke. That couldn't have been Deku. It had to have been Toga disgusting as him. Ochako was refusing to believe that Izuku of all people was the traitor. Ochako. Toga was right beside him as they left. I'm so sorry but this is reality. Mina couldn't imagine how she was feeling. She herself was hurt but she knew Ochako was feeling hundreds of times worse. Ochako turned and planted her face to her shoulder and she began to sob loudly. Mina was there to comfort her. Mina, Uraraka, I'm sorry we have to go, Iida reminded them. Come on Ochako. Let's get you inside. Mina held her arm leading her away. Wait, Ochako stopped. She looked at the ground near where the portal was and there was a small book just laying there. She bent down and picked it up and held it in her hands examining it. This is Deku's. Ochako figured he must have dropped it on the way out. On accident or purpose she didn't know. She took it with her as the class passed All Might who was there at the incident. He had no idea that Izuku was a traitor. And the worst part was he had one for all. I can't imagine what a villain could do with that quirk. But out of all the students here, I trusted him the most. All Might wiped away a tear from his eye. At the present moment, Ochako woke up screaming. She had the same dream again for the third night in a row, where Izuku was revealed as the traitor. Knock knock. Ochako, are you alright? I was passing by and I heard you scream. A voice called out that Ochako realized that it belonged to Asui asked as she opened the door. Why yeah, the lighting just scared me a bit is all, Ochako lied to her. Do you want me to stay and talk for a bit? Asui asked her. No thanks, I'm fine, just need to go back to sleep is all. Ochako politely declined her offer. If you say so, good night. Asui left and Ochako closed the door. Ochako leaned her forehead up against the door. She wanted nothing more than to bang her head against it, but that would wake up people. Suddenly Ochako felt a breeze against her and a bit of water splashed her as she felt the cold air hit her skin. She looked to find that her window was fully open. How did that happen? She wondered. She walked over and closed the door. Just then the lights came on in her room. She looked around and her face lost all of its color. Standing there was none other than Izuku, aka the U.A. traitor, himself standing right there in her room. Deku. Ochako couldn't believe it. Part of her didn't want to believe because if he really was here that means she has to take him down. Hey Ochako, Izuku said emotionless. Story continues below. Part of Ochako wanted to slap the living hell out of him for leaving and being a villain. Another part of her wanted to ask why would he do this among other questions. But every other part of her led to her doing exactly what they wanted. She went up and hugged him and began to cry into his neck. Why, you're really here? Ochako couldn't believe it. Yes, I am here. Izuku smiled and started to hug her back before she quickly let go. She then let the other part of her body do what it wanted. She arched her hand back and swung forward, making contact with his right face cheek, sending a smack sound all across the room, making his cheek turn red. I guess I deserve that, he said, rubbing his cheek slightly as it stung. Why Deku? Why are you a villain? Why betray you? Why betray all of your friends? Why did you leave me? She asked the last part quietly as more of her tears hit the floor from her face. It's complicated, Ochako. I will explain one day hopefully, he said, not explaining anything. Then why are you even here for? Did you come to kill me? Ochako asked. No, of course not. I'm here to take you away from here. He stretched out his hand to her but she smacked it away. You should know me well enough by now to know damn well I would never go with a villain. She declined his offer. He took a deep sigh. I know, and I'm not going to kidnap you either. Is there anything I can say to make you feel better? He asked, making her pissed. You left me. You didn't even say goodbye. Do you even realize how much I loved you? I thought you would be my future. Midoriya, Ochako kept crying. She didn't know, but saying Midoriya hurt him worse than the slap did. I'm sorry, Ok. Don't you fucking dare use my first name. I don't even want you here. Get out before I go get somebody. Ochako threatened. Ochako now. She growled at him, making him flinch a bit, but he kept the same facial expression. Quote dot 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 dot. Okay. He walked over to her window and opened it, letting the air back into the room. He put one leg over, sitting down. Quote dot dot dot. You still love me, don't you? I can tell because you're letting me go even though I'm a villain. Am I right? He asked her. She turned her back to him and didn't answer his question. Most of my time here was an act. But every moment I was with you, laughing and loving. That was all real, and it still is. You may not believe me, but it's true, Izuku explained. Ochako felt her heart begin to race. Half of her wanted to push him out the window, sending him to a painful landing. But her other half couldn't help herself. Even though he is a villain. Even though she was supposed to be against him now, even though he betrayed her. She still loves him. She ran up to the window and she shoved her lips right onto his, feeling his skin once again. She loved and hated this. She felt complete again now that she was touching him lovingly. It had been less than a week since their last kiss, but it felt like an entirety passed by. Izuku leaned into this kiss. He wasn't lying when he said he still loved her. And he had missed her just as much as she missed him. After a few seconds, Ochako came to her senses and she broke the kiss off and took a few steps back. Go, Midoriya. Don't ever come back to me or this school. Stay away from my friends and family. I won't report you this time just to repay you saving my life before and because I still love you. But I never want to see you again, and if do, I will treat you like any other villain scum. Ochako felt like she was about to cry tears of blood. Quote dot dot dot. I understand. Goodbye, Uraraka. Izuku jumped down from the window and he left as Ochako closed the window. She placed a hand on her lips as she now fully understood the position she found herself in now. Next time I see him, I'm going to take him down, Ochako thought as she struggled to fall back asleep. Izuku looked back at the school in the rain and darkness and placed his hoodie over his head. I'm sorry, Ochako, but maybe one day you will see why I did this, he thought as he went on his way. I don't do angst much, so let me know how I did it, please.
Finally, we can relate. Our side by side, this is fate. I knew all along we'd find some way to communicate.